Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome to today's video where I want to talk about 5-star hero crystals in Marvel Contest of Champions, kind of the 5-star bog standard 10k crystals versus the 15k featured hero crystals, and whether or not, you know, the featured ones, are they still worth going for, and kind of what line of thinking I use when I'm, you know, kind of debating whether or not I should go for a 5-star featured champion. And as you can see, guys, we have a massive stack saved up for, well, one featured champion in particular, which we'll talk a little bit about. So if you are very new to Marvel Contest of Champions, or quite new to kind of how the featured hero crystals work, the essential difference, the first one is the price. The featured ones are 15,000 instead of 10,000, but contain a boosted chance to get that specific character. So via a lot of crystal openings and surveys in the community, it's roughly believed that that chance to get, you know, the boosted chance to get that specific character is around 20 to 25%. But in this video, we're going to operate on the basis that is a 20% chance. So it's a 1 in 5 chance that you are going to get that featured character. And I think the important thing to bear in mind is you can open featured, you can open basics, and there is always a chance with either crystal that you can be infinitely screwed. And that's also something very important to bear in mind. Like the last 5-star basics I've opened across my main and free-to-play account, we did 2 on Seatin that we got from Act 5, and we got Captain Marvel and Colossus. And on my free-to-play account, the free 5 stars that I've opened have been another Colossus, we've got a Luke Cage, and a Rhino. So the last 5-star basics I've opened have just been absolute trash. However, there are openings where people have got like Archangel, Iceman, Voodoo, Gwenpool, and like another character, like crazy god tier openings. So with either crystal, you can be completely screwed. But the way that I perceive it, especially with the featured one, is really I'd keep that like plus 20% chance in mind. So when we're looking at a character, maybe like Doc Ock or like Kingpin, you've got a plus 20% chance to get like, well, in Doc Ock's case, a demigod tier champion, or in Kingpin's case, like a pretty amazing champion. That's not really much of a rope in there. But when you have a look at a character like Blade, which is a crazy god tier champion, arguably the best overall champion in the game at the moment, having a plus 20% chance to get that character is just absolutely phenomenal and well worth the cost. So it's really about kind of how you perceive the value of the character that you're going for. And I would always... I would kind of make a policy to only go for god tier champions. And when you are thinking about, you know, if we take again that 20% chance into factor and kind of bring it out over like the longest span of all your crystal openings ever, essentially, you know, every time you go for a featured hero crystal, again, it's 5,000 shards. So let's assume you get 1 in 5 champions. So what's the amount of 5-star shards you are paying to get that specific featured character? And the answer to that is overall, you know, if it's 5 additional tries, that's 25,000 shards if we're assuming 5k for every try. So combine that with the 10k base as well, you are looking at the theoretical cost of getting a featured 5-star champion at 35,000 shards. And you look at a character like Doc Ock. I love Doc Ock, man. Would I pay 35,000 shards for him? Nah. I wouldn't. I would only go for crazy god tier featured champions. They need to be so good and worthy of, you know, in your head, that 35,000 shard value. Which, to be honest, the only champion that we 100% know the abilities that is coming up is Blade. There's very good chance that, you know, characters like Sentry and Void, they might be pretty good. We have no idea until the abilities and numbers are actually in the game and we can play around with those characters a bit. So if you are ever going for like a brand new featured character, you always need to make sure that you wait like kind of a few days, or unless the character's had like a pre-release crystal set and people have already done tons of videos on it and it's like absolutely bonkers. But the important thing is, like, don't go for 5-star characters that you have no idea of the value of. So yeah, I don't think like any character, in my opinion, as a featured is worth going for apart from Blade. but I would strongly advise, you know, if you can save up the shards till the end of February, I believe it's February 22nd where the blade crystals come around, he's definitely a character that you want to go for, because he's a great, you know, rank 4, rank 5 option. You can chuck your generic on him, and he's just going to win you all of the alliance wars, like be an MVP for stuff like Act 5. So I'd really kind of get into that mentality of thinking, like, is this 5-star featured champion going to completely change my game? And if the answer to that is no, then don't go for that featured 5-star champion, because you have a very, very limited amount of gambles, and you want to make sure that your gambles are, you know, made in the right place. And when it comes to, I guess there's one more champion that we could talk about that's coming up, and that's kind of Medusa. Medusa's a little bit of a borderline champion. A lot of people are very, very on the Medusa hype bandwagon at the moment because of her exceptional performance against Ultron OG in 5.4, but I think when you look at the wider picture of what Medusa can be used for in terms of like the day-to-day stuff like Alliance Quest, Alliance War, she's alright on Alliance War defense, but you're not really going to play the character in Alliance Quest. You know, there are much, much better, more sustainable characters to use for the more difficult maps, and when it comes to Alliance War attack, like, she's not really going to do too much there, but she's an alright defender. I would say Medusa is very, very borderline. You know, kind of looking at that, would you, you know, pay 35,000 shards for Medusa? And I think the answer, you know, for a lot of people is probably no. There are probably a few big Medusa fans that would go for her, but I think, you know, when you put Medusa and Blade side by side and look at all of the applications that both of those champions can be used in, I would assume that a good 95% of players would just immediately turn their head to Blade. So that's always something to bear in mind. But yeah, I think next year is going to be very, very exciting. I think, you know, with the first event of the year, we got Sentry and Hyperion, then we got Killmonger and Gladiator Hulk, then tons of potential X-Men characters coming out, Infinity War characters, some of Thanos' Black Order. There is just a crazy amount of very, very powerful champions in terms of, you know, their comic book lore and ability, although, just as a disclaimer, that does not always translate into there being an amazing character, but I assume champions have very much followed the trend of just getting better and better. If you have a look at like this year's champions in comparison to last year's champions, like this year's champions just absolutely knock all of them out of the water. You know, we've got like Archangel this year, Iceman, Blade, Stark and Aunt Spider-Man. There's just been Gwenpool as well, like right at the start of the year. There's just been a bombardment of absolutely ridiculous champions. So yeah, to a certain extent as well, like it's a good idea to save and wait, but never rush into a featured 5-star crystal. Like, have a big think about whether you want the champion, and also kind of the upcoming options and other stuff that is available as well. Just always take that into consideration to make the best decision possible. And again, if you don't want to take those featured gambles, the 5-star hero crystals, the 10k ones, are still very, very decent. But I think the trap a lot of people that haven't really gone for basic, featured gambles are kind of falling into at the moment is that they have all of these like T2 alphas just pouring in from like the endgame content and Act 5 and 100% Act 4, but no real champions that they want to take up to rank 4 as a 5-star. And with T2 alphas becoming increasingly more common, I think if you are looking to kind of progress and make, get waves in the endgame of Marvel Contest of Champions, I think it's just incredibly important that you think about in quite a bit of detail, which champions am I gonna need to tackle all of the content. Like, write down, this is what I do whenever I'm like struggling to make up a rank up choice, is I write down, okay, what is the next thing that I'm trying to tackle in Marvel Contest of Champions. So at certain points it was like initial Labyrinth clear, and then it went on to Labyrinth of Legends 100%, and then it, factored in stuff like Legends runs as well, and that helped me on Seatin to kind of, take up characters like initially Gwenpool, even Undupe to rank 4, which was, a really, really great option. Like, Gwenpool's got me through so much stuff in Marvel Contest of Champions, and has just been an absolute MVP to my roster. But yeah, again, like, featured with either crystal, you can always get screwed, and there are some players that just never have a lucky day in their lives, and I feel It sucks at the moment that there isn't some sort of like pity timer system in place that like after, you know, X amount of featured crystals, you are guaranteed to get a champion, because I know people that have gone like 0 for like 15 featured crystals, and I know people that have opened like 5 featured crystals and got like 5 featured champions. Like the luck spectrum is just all over the place. So yeah, make sure, you know, when you take your gambles, you just think them out, and ideally only go for champions that you personally believe are of that gold tier, because again, the theoretical cost of getting a featured champion as a 5-star is very, very expensive. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this video helped you out and kind of gave you a little bit of an insight into what goes through my mind when I'm thinking about, you know, who I want to go for as a 5-star character. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for watching. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.